Welcome back to the Daily Lift. Let's take a minute to refocus our hearts and our minds on God's promises, especially in regards to preparing for eternity. While I was reflecting on what it means to live with an eternal perspective, I realized that this thought, living with eternity in mind, should shape our choices and help us focus on our ultimate destination. And in John chapter 14, Jesus talks about destinations and our final destination. He says, "In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, and that where I am, there you may also be." It's easy to picture beachfront fantasy homes in this idea of mansions, like we think here on earth. But this word mansions is best understood as a dwelling place or spaces where each of us can be with the Lord. Heaven isn't just about a physical luxury place or having a personal mansion of our own, but it's about being a part of the Father's house. It's more like a big family house where everybody has a room that belongs to them. And Jesus isn't just offering us a place to be, but a place to belong. And within the presence and the fellowship of God, of deity. And to fully appreciate this metaphor, let's connect it to the Jewish marriage tradition that they would be familiar with in Jesus' day. And so in those days, a young man who wanted to marry, he would visit the woman's father and make a proposal. And if it was accepted, he would promise to prepare a place for her. And oftentimes it would be an extension that would be built on the father's house. And the groom would then go away and work and prepare their new home. And when it was ready, he'd come back and bring the bride to their new home. And this wasn't just about a temporary home, but it was more about a permanent, family-centered commitment. It was a place where they would dwell together as one. Jesus draws on this imagery to comfort his disciples. He's saying, "I'm going to prepare a place for you," meaning that he's actively making a way for us to be with him right now. Jesus' preparation wasn't simply about setting up a house, though. It involved death and resurrection, and his going to the Father so we can be fully reconciled with God and be welcomed into his house. And then he adds, "I will come again to receive you to myself," like a groom returning for his bride, so that where I am, there you may also be. And this was a promise of eternal union with God. So what does this mean for us today? Well, Jesus has made a way for us to live in the Father's presence forever. That should change how we view this life and the decisions that we make every day. It's easy to get caught up in the temporary, like money, status, and other material pursuits. But when we remember that our true home is being prepared in the presence of God right now, it becomes clear that the things we value here on earth are just that. They're temporary. Living with an eternal perspective isn't about ignoring responsibilities or giving up joy here on earth. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about seeing everything in the context of that final decision, that final destination. And so if heaven is our ultimate home, we can focus on things with lasting value, investing in people, sharing God's love, deepening our faith, and preparing our hearts to be with the Lord. And when we make decisions based on heavenly priorities, then when we face those challenges or difficult choices, we can ask, how does this align with our heavenly home? We can think of preparing for eternity as making room in our hearts for God right now. As we live each day, we let God's presence reshape us, transforming our values and shaping our hearts to align with his will. It's like clearing out all the clutter, the things that weigh us down or distract us from our ultimate home. Every time we choose to forgive, to love, to serve, or to seek God's will, we're preparing ourselves to be part of his eternal family. So, as you go about your day today, ask yourself, am I living like I belong in the Father's house? Am I prioritizing what will truly last? Remember, Jesus has gone on before us, and he's preparing that place for us right now. And one day, he will return to bring us home. So let's keep our eyes on that eternal promise and live in a way that reflects our readiness to dwell in the place of God forever. And as always, go lift somebody up.